Linda Blair is a name forever associated with one of the most iconic horror films of all time, The Exorcist. As a young girl, she captivated audiences with a performance that was both terrifying and unforgettable. But growing up in the public eye comes with challenges that few can truly understand. For Linda, redefining herself beyond the role that made her famous became an essential journey. Her story is not about horror, but about personal agency, growth, and the courage to reclaim one's identity in a world that constantly watches. It's a tale of navigating fame, facing scrutiny, and taking control of one's narrative. Blair's life demonstrates how a child star can evolve into a self-assured adult while leaving a lasting mark on both Hollywood and cultural conversations. This story highlights the resilience required to transform public perception into personal empowerment, showing that fame is only one chapter of a larger, more complex life. Early fame and the Exorcist legacy. At just 14 years old, Linda Blair stepped into a role that would define her life. Playing Regan in The Exorcist, she brought an eerie realism and depth that captivated audiences and critics alike. The movie became a worldwide sensation, shocking viewers while earning critical acclaim. And Blair's performance was recognized with prestigious award nominations, including an Academy Award. Overnight, she transitioned from a normal teenager to a household name, her life forever altered by a single defining role. With recognition came immense pressure. The public scrutinized her every move, interviews dissected her thoughts, and fans projected expectations onto a girl still finding herself. Her early fame was a mix of triumph and intense scrutiny, forcing her to grow up quickly under a microscope. Blair's experience exemplifies the delicate balance child stars must navigate between professional achievement and personal development, while trying to maintain a sense of self amid the glare of international attention. Growing up in the public eye, being a child star brings challenges unlike any other, and Linda Blair experienced them acutely. While her peers explored identity privately, Blair's every decision and appearance were observed by the public. The world primarily remembered her as Regan, the possessed girl, which often overshadowed her personal growth and individuality. This constant scrutiny meant she was treated as a character rather than a person, leaving little room for mistakes or experimentation. Growing up under such conditions forced Blair to confront the tension between public expectation and private development. She had to navigate adolescence while managing the legacy of a defining role, a task that few can truly understand. This experience planted the seeds of a desire to reclaim agency over her own image. The challenge of transitioning from child star to independent adult was compounded by Hollywood's reluctance to let go of iconic childhood personas, making Blair's journey both complicated and uniquely demanding. Reclaiming her identity. By the early 1980s, Linda Blair was determined to redefine herself. She wanted the world to see her as an autonomous adult rather than the frightened child from a horror classic. This goal led to bold, deliberate decisions about how she presented herself publicly. In 1983, Blair participated in a photo shoot that differed dramatically from her earlier, more innocent appearances. The session was a statement, showcasing her as a grown woman embracing her autonomy, maturity, and confidence. This move was about more than aesthetics. It was a conscious attempt to control her narrative and demonstrate self-assuredness. The photo shoot marked a turning point in her life, signaling to audiences that she was no longer defined solely by her childhood fame. It was a step toward self-definition, illustrating the complex journey of a former child star seeking to assert individuality in an industry that often resists such transformations. Blair's choice reflected her readiness to face public scrutiny in the pursuit of personal authenticity. The bold decision that made headlines. The 1983 photo shoot was striking and controversial for its time. Linda Blair appeared in a series of images that emphasized her adulthood and control over her body. This was a deliberate act, not a leaked or accidental exposure. It was intended to assert autonomy and break free from her image as a child star trapped in a defining role. By embracing her own choices so publicly, Blair confronted societal expectations and challenged the lingering perceptions of her youth. The images immediately captured public attention and sparked debate, forcing audiences to reckon with questions about fame, maturity, and agency. Some were shocked by the boldness, while others recognized the courage it took to make such a statement. Through this act, Blair communicated that personal empowerment sometimes requires challenging norms and taking risks in public spaces. Her decision became emblematic of the tension between fame and self-determination, highlighting the complexity of growing up under constant observation. Public reaction and debate. The public response to Blair's photo shoot was immediate and intense, ranging from surprise to admiration. Fans and critics debated her choices, questioning whether such boldness was necessary or appropriate. Yet the controversy was never about legality. It was about perception, societal expectations, and the discomfort that arises when a former child star asserts independence. The incident illuminated a broader cultural struggle: how society reconciles childhood fame with adult autonomy. For Blair, the conversation became symbolic of the difficulties faced by performers transitioning from iconic youth roles into mature identities. Some defended her right to agency, recognizing the statement as an act of empowerment rather than rebellion. Others reacted with shock, unable to separate the individual from the childhood image. Ultimately, the public discourse highlighted the tension between external expectations and personal growth, emphasizing the courage it takes to reclaim one's narrative in a world eager to preserve familiar images. Empowerment through choice. For Linda Blair, the photo shoot was fundamentally about empowerment. She aimed to reclaim control over how she was seen and to demonstrate that she could make deliberate choices regarding her body, career, and public identity. Interviews reveal that Blair intended the images to communicate maturity, freedom, and personal agency rather than controversy or sensationalism. Her decision was deeply intentional, a statement that she would no longer be confined by a role she played at 14. By exercising autonomy over her own narrative, Blair illustrated the power of personal choice in shaping identity. The act of defining oneself publicly, particularly after years of scrutiny, is a profound form of self-expression. In taking ownership of her image, she provided a blueprint for other former child stars navigating similar challenges, highlighting that empowerment often requires deliberate, courageous decisions in the face of societal expectations. Context within Hollywood culture. Linda Blair's actions occurred within a broader Hollywood culture that often struggles with the transition of young performers into adulthood. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, child actors frequently faced the challenge of escaping the roles that had made them famous. Hollywood tends to hold on to youthful images, making it difficult for performers to signal maturity or independence without taking dramatic steps. Blair's choices mirrored this reality. She needed a visible, unmistakable act to demonstrate that she was no longer a child star, but an adult capable of self-determination. Her photo shoot was not purely provocative. It was a conscious strategy to assert identity within a system that equates visibility with control. This context reveals that her decision was both personal and practical, highlighting the constraints and pressures faced by young actors attempting to define their adult personas in a highly image-conscious industry. Continuing career and activism. Following the controversy, Linda Blair continued to cultivate a diverse and resilient career. She appeared in films and television projects that extended beyond horror, proving she was capable of evolving as an artist. While some roles achieved more prominence than others, her continued work affirmed that no single act or controversy could define her professional trajectory. Beyond her acting, Blair became a prominent advocate for animal rights, founding organizations and promoting the rescue of abused animals. This activism revealed a compassionate dimension to her identity, showing that her influence extended far beyond celebrity. Her efforts in animal welfare demonstrated purpose, responsibility, and long-term impact. Blair's sustained contributions illustrate that a person's legacy is shaped not by fleeting controversies, but by consistent, meaningful actions. Her story reinforces that fame can serve as a platform for advocacy, highlighting depth, resilience, and social engagement alongside professional achievement. Courage and personal narrative. What sets Linda Blair apart is the courage required to challenge expectations imposed from childhood. Stepping away from a defining role involves risk, particularly when public perception has cemented an identity that no longer aligns with personal growth. Blair's choices demanded confidence and resilience, as she anticipated criticism while asserting autonomy. Her willingness to be vulnerable in public demonstrates that empowerment is often intertwined with risk and discomfort. These acts were not about provocation, but about self-definition. By reclaiming her narrative, Blair communicated that personal growth cannot always conform to external expectations. Her journey highlights a broader lesson. Authenticity often requires challenging comfort zones and embracing scrutiny. The courage to define oneself, rather than allowing society to dictate identity, is a powerful act, underscoring the strength required for former child stars to evolve and assert control over their lives and public personas. The legacy of the choice. In hindsight, Linda Blair's photo shoot became a single chapter in a long narrative of autonomy, growth, and self-determination. It did not limit her career, nor did it diminish her accomplishments. Instead, it signaled a willingness to evolve and assert identity in a world often reluctant to see child stars as adults. Her legacy reflects resilience, the ability to adapt, continue working, and remain true to oneself despite public pressure. The photographs are now part of a broader story, rather than a defining moment. Over time, Blair's actions are understood less as scandal and more as an illustration of the complexities of growing up publicly. Her choice demonstrates that personal evolution often requires visible, sometimes uncomfortable, acts of self-definition. It highlights that identity is not static, and that legacy is shaped by perseverance, authenticity, and the courage to chart one's own course. Lessons in understanding and empathy. Blair's experience underscores the importance of compassion when considering the public lives of former child stars. Growing up under constant observation magnifies every choice and mistake, leaving little room for private development. Her photo shoot was an exercise in agency, a personal statement rather than an attempt to shock. Recognizing this encourages audiences to move beyond judgment and toward understanding. It reminds us that celebrities navigate challenges similar to anyone else: identity, growth, and autonomy, only in a far more public setting. Blair's story advocates empathy and context, highlighting that public personas are often partial reflections of real lives. Understanding the pressures faced by child stars fosters a more nuanced appreciation of their choices and journeys. Her life invites reflection on how we interpret celebrity actions, emphasizing kindness, curiosity, and respect for individual agency as essential lenses for viewing public narratives. A star beyond the role. Linda Blair's life beyond The Exorcist illustrates courage, agency, and personal evolution. Though her early fame was defined by a single, unforgettable role, she refused to remain confined by it. Her decision to redefine herself, though controversial, demonstrated self-determination and the strength to shape her own narrative. Blair's career, advocacy, and personal growth revealed depth, resilience, and a commitment to authenticity. She reminds us that public perception captures only fragments of an individual's life, and that true legacy comes from consistent self-expression and meaningful choices. In the end, Linda Blair's impact is not measured by a single film or photograph, but by the courage it took to grow beyond expectations and define herself fully. She remains a star not because of a role she played as a child, but because of the strength and agency she brought to her life and career. Ongoing relevance and influence. Linda Blair's journey continues to resonate with audiences, offering lessons for anyone navigating public scrutiny or personal growth. Her experience demonstrates that the challenges of early fame require resilience, conscious decision-making, and self-awareness. Through her advocacy, career choices, and public acts of empowerment, she has created a multifaceted legacy that transcends Hollywood labels. Blair shows that identity is fluid and that empowerment often comes through deliberate acts of self-definition. Her story serves as a reminder that courage, authenticity, and empathy are crucial in shaping both personal and public life. She remains a relevant figure, inspiring those who struggle to reconcile past roles, public perception, or societal expectations with their evolving sense of self. Blair's life offers an enduring blueprint for navigating fame, growth, and agency in any public-facing path.